character-wise in Village is Chris's character. Chris acting like an idiot and a jerk to Ethan to keep up the charade that wasn't me at the beginning detracts from the story. Now the game realizes this.
Before we reset the characters or rest, I want to go unlock at least one more farming section here.
Now with games, it's hard to change the story once you commit. The motion capture, dialogue writing, voiceovers, it's not like a book where you can change it on a whim. This line feels like the writer realized the mistake.
Since that'll help
to address it. I give props to addressing this
when
mistake.
it's finally time for me to get armor upgrades as well. Armor and weapon.
She's outshined by the others. It's like how Sadler in RE4 wasn't as compelling as Mendez or Salazar. I do like how her story ties together the threads from RE7. What I don't care for is having her such a large movie story. It's Spencer's work with Umbrella. We had more given to us by the villagers. There could have been a lot more to see how she influenced the village. The scene where the village is greater, love that scene.
And the storm to deliver us into fate's hands. And as the midnight moon rises on black wings, so we make our sacrifice and await the light at the end. In life and in death, we give glory on the veranda.
That's what I wanted to see more of, discovering the remains of the village. When I first heard about the Duke, I was skeptical. Those fears faded when I realized he was his own character, not carbon copy of the franchise. That final conversation with him was an excellent and understated exchange. It answered some questions, but asked even more about who the Duke is.
Speaking of foolish questions, what are you? Even I can't quite answer that.
How do I get back?
Actually crazy moments. This fight exchange is one of my favorite scenes in the game. Ethan has a great
This
sense
is
of
frustrating.
odd story decision. He should have been there as well to say goodbye for greater impact. We never got to see the real with his family together much. There was something admirable about Ethan as a character. He only wants his family back. Even with Heisenberg offering him his help, he doesn't want anything to do with them. Don't get in his way of finding roads or face the consequences. Ethan being more of the everyman character helps him stand out with the large cast of the series. But again, it's also so amusing how far Capcom would go to hide his face. Overall, while an enjoyable experience, I did find Village to fall short of what 7 was able to accomplish. For other odds and ends, let's talk about Mercenaries. While enjoyable in the base game, Ethan being the only character was a letdown. The DLC, the roster is expanded to 4 characters. There's Redfield and there's Of course, he's a punching machine. Depending on the upgrades you get, it's comical how much power these fists have. No wonder he's able to smash boulders.
Play with me some more. Stop it all
I would only use guns to keep combos going if no enemies were nearby. The most notable inclusion is Lady Dimitrescu. It's good, stupid fun towering over everything. You need to crouch to get through smaller doorways. Her abilities are what you expect to get from her. Chucking the Ornate Vanity at goons always brought a smile to my face. I love the item description for the Vanity and how she's breaking them on the regular.
To hell with the ceremony!
Heisenberg is another good addition, although I did find the least enjoyable of the 3 additions. I do wish the Duke had new lines depending on who we were playing as. They had the voice actor available, why not throw in a few? I don't find it as fun as the older Mercenaries modes, but they did a good job tweaking a mode to fit the gameplay of Village. In regards to RE-Verse, I wasn't expecting much from it. I was expecting it to get cancelled at some point by the way Capcom shuffled it to the side. They kept real quiet about it. Now that it's out, nothing outstanding, but it's much better than I thought it would be. I had very low expectations for it. I was expecting a trash fire. I was ready to play a couple matches before dropping out, yet I stuck around for a couple of hours. Neobards, being the developers, did pique my interest in Reverse. During the Silent Hill transmission, Silent Hill F was the only intriguing title to me. Neobards are the developers. So RE-Verse turning out much better than I thought does give me a bit more hope for Silent Hill F. It's a simple setup. Each character has a unique layout and abilities. When you die, you'll turn to a monster at random from a handful of choices. Upon death there, you'll return to a human character. There were a decent range of abilities on both humans and monsters. The maps were familiar territory with some tweaks. Much better than I thought it would be. Granted, I didn't have much hope in it. I didn't even consider giving it a go until I learned this was the studio working on the only future Silent Hill title that looked interesting. I don't see it having many legs in regards to player numbers, but hey, they got it out the door.
Holy fuck, how do I do this?
You're here looking for someone? Who's missing, señorita?
So what's next for the series? Where does Resident Evil go from here? Well, in late March 2023, the Resident Evil 4 remake will hit the shelves. According to sources who know about the project, there was some shuffling around of who was working on it. There is no confirmation if this has been the case, so take this with a grain of salt. Studio M2, who contributed to the development of Resident Evil 3 remake, were heading the development of RE4. M2 wanted a more
Maybe there's
faithful
a different
remake of the source
entrance
material.
somewhere.
The negative reception for the changes of 3 meg were a reason for this. Capcom wants something inspired by the original, but also need flexibility to make tweaks to the gameplay, story, and other areas. As a result, Capcom's Division 1 is now leading the project. Again, take that for what you will. I like to think they learned from how much changing Resident Evil 3 led to its lukewarm reception compared to Resident Evil 2 Remake. While it did have some issues with cut features, I found the remake of 2 very enjoyable. Yes, for 4, expect things to change, be removed, or added, but that's the nature of remakes. Whatever happens, we always have the original from 2005. Well, this is also going to be the first experience of Resident Evil 4 for many players. From what we've seen so far, the gameplay looks how I expected.
Yeah.
The ongoing all rules of nature with the knife gave me a good chuckle. Obviously a darker tone, but there's still some of those neon wisecracks.
Kill me for the
Interesting.
Some character redesigns and voices I'm a bit unsure of, but it's hard to get a gauge in the trailer.
I don't think I can equip that to anyone right now, though.
Granted, this is also being made
So
internally
I
at
can't.
Capcom. If it's more in the vein of Resident Evil 2 Remake than the 3 Remake, then it should turn out okay. But I really hope this is it for remakes. There's no need to go through the rest of the catalog. Leave things as they lie. Resident Evil 5, Code Veronica, move on. Don't you dare think about remaking the RE remake. Go back to the spin-offs. It's been a while since we've had one. There were rumors about Revelations 3 coming out after Village. What happened there? It's the perfect place to bring back fan-favorite characters who disappeared. In August 2022, an interview came out saying that Capcom first wanted RE7 to be a live service type game, one full of multiplayer and microtransactions. The type of game many developers have tried to pull off, but most fail. Could you imagine if that was the case? I wager that Resident Evil would have died off at that moment. Instead, they made a single-player title that harkened back to the older titles, and it paid off. Likewise with the remake for 2, which Capcom announced crossed the 10 million sales mark. Now we have a whole batch of franchises in the horror space playing catch up with remakes, new entries, or both. Resident Evil is still well ahead of the field. Sure, there are aspects of the last few titles where I'm a bit concerned about
I
their
wonder
future
if the
direction,
stat
but the current
increases from
franchises in the
books
gaming landscape
carry
I don't
over
have
when
major
you
concerns about Resident Evil
retire.
fucking up. To be fair, consider the fact that many studios and publishers have dropped the balls
Hopefully,
with their IPs
yeah.
over the last decade. It's
That would
possible the
suck.
same could happen to Resident Evil.
If that
I'd
wasn't
like
the
to think
case.
Capcom learned from its mistakes in the late 2000s to early 2010s, and we won't see a repeat. Compare that to Konami, who look to be repeating the same mistakes they made with Silent Hill after they disbanded Team Silent. I'd love to be wrong about this fact, but if the last decade or so has shown us anything, it's keep your expectations in check. Consider me optimistic with a dose of caution and skepticism for the future of Resident Evil. Yes, the IP could be better. Anything can. But it could also be in a far worse state than it is. All you need to do is take a look around the gaming landscape to see that. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to support the channel further, consider becoming a patron or becoming a YouTube member. Get access to videos earlier, be featured in the credits, and get periodic updates. Thanks everyone. Boulder Punch out.
You know, let me look at the map for this fucking tip. This fucking bollocks of a final dungeon. But sad to say it isn't as bad. As fucking the final dungeon in Labyrinth Galeria. Okay, so there is a shortcut, but I fucking missed it, so now I have to go through this all over again. It's most likely I can't activate it from this side. That'd be too good. Too convenient. I just need to retrace my steps. Obviously we go up there, here, then down, which means I must have done right. But no, that's not actually possible because let's improvise. Might as well see what we missed. Why is there a fucking coupon for Napier Spear all the way over here? Why are there coupons for Napier period in the dungeon?
Let's finish this. Are you trying to make me angry? Time to die, Chris.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the 145th episode of Analyzing Evil, featuring our patron pick for August 2023, Albert Wesker, from the Resident Evil franchise. The enigma pulling the strings, the shadow behind every corner, the darkness surrounding all insidious endeavors. Albert Wesker is a constant presence in the world of Resident Evil, a man whose larger-than-life persona and insidious machinations dooms countless lives as he strives to fulfill all his nefarious ambitions. Now, typically I release the patron pick at the beginning of every month, but I needed more time to sift through everything there is about this expansive universe, as this franchise is exceedingly convoluted, and the various continuities that have been born out of an incredible amount of books, movies, animations, mangas, and video games is hard to keep track of, to say the least. Not to mention that a lot of information that can be found within any given continuity is often contradicted by something else within that continuity. So with that in mind, I wanted to examine Wesker in the most cohesive way that I possibly could, and for that reason, in this video, I chose only to include information that we can find in the Prime continuity, which encompasses all of the mainline games, a few extras like the Wesker reports, and the odd animation and manga here or there. Now, as I said, even within one continuity, you can find contradictory information, So for the sake of trying to establish a complete and streamlined narrative for this character, we're going to assume that all the dates that can be found within the History of Resident Evil file from Resident Evil 5 are accurate, and that all the information about Albert that can be found in the Albert Wesker file in the same game trumps all other information that might contradict it. Why I chose to base everything off of these two files is simple, because Resident Evil 5 was the last game that Albert appeared in, and I imagine these files were meant to tie up any loose ends regarding his character that might have reared their ugly heads in the previous entries. We're still going to cover all the important things about Wesker's character that we can find in other games, but these files will serve as a baseline that I'll be referring back to as this video progresses. With all this in mind though, I'm bound to have missed something, or several somethings, so feel free to let me know about any missteps down below. Now, some of you might be disappointed that I didn't include Wesker as he appears in the films in this video, but after doing some research, I learned that these films weren't exactly well received, and the few Resident Evil fanatics that I've discussed this video with recommended that I just stick with the games this time around. However, if enough of you want to see the film version of Wesker in a video, I can release that video at some point in the future. Just let me know down below. But before we get started, let's first talk about our sponsor for this video, Babbel. Babbel is one of the top language learning apps in the world. They offer a wide variety of comprehensive lessons that help you reach your language goals. And they offer perhaps the most crucial tool when it comes to achieving fluency: real-life conversations with native speakers. This is one of the greatest perks that comes with using Babbel, and it's easy to get started with daily lessons that will
From the slippery tiles go north to the wall. Then west to the wall. Path to the stairs in 4A. Treasure, treasure. This isn't helpful. No, this won't work. From the vertical slippery tiles on 5F. Go north to the wall. Go west to the wall. Then north to the wall. Go east to the wall. Then south to the wall. South to the wall. Go east. I have my directions right, don't I? One more time. From the top. On the vertical slippery tiles, that's this, on 5F. Yep, this is within the borders of 5 and F. North, west, there's only one way to go anyway, so this has to be west. To the wall, that's this. Then north, the wall. Go east to the wall, then south to the wall. Go west, then north, step 5, go east. Step 5, go east, then south to the wall. Step 6, go east 1 tile, then south 1 tile. Go east to step 7, east to the wall, then south to the wall. Step 8, go east to the wall, north 1 tile, east to the wall. Unlock the shortcut. Slide through the vertical slippery tiles on 6B. Go east to the wall, then south to the wall. Go west, then south. Step 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12. Go west, then north, 13. West, then north. 14. Go west to the wall. south to the wall, then west 15, go north 1 tile, west to the wall, south to the wall. I believe I'm in 16 now. Go west 1 tile, south to the wall, east 2 tiles. Go 17, go north, then east. Then south to the wall. Step 18. Go west to the wall, south to the wall, then east to the wall. Go south to the wall, east to the wall, and unlock the shortcut. How did I fucking miss this? Go north. Fucking Jesus.
That comes with using Babbel, and it's easy to get started with daily lessons that will have you speaking a new language in only 3 weeks. Babbel offers a ton of languages to choose from, as well as several different subscription packages, like their lifetime subscription.
I just realized I haven't talked to the people yet. They should have some new dialogue. Oh, I unlocked the shortcut I wanna see. I guess everyone's relying on me now, huh? No pressure. I think I might have missed some dialogue for floor 22. Alright, there's no one else left to talk there. Are there even people in the Cyclopean haunt? Okay, yeah, I missed dialogue. And it seems Kujaro's doing his own exploration. What a badass. He's a one-man army. I mean, I've seen his stats in the boss fight. In the walkthrough. He's crazy. Okay, looks like that's all she says now. Where exactly did the two of them go? A little selfish of them. Just suddenly up and vanish. Alright, considering I already unlocked what I did, according to the map, everything I need is in these two floors. It's just a matter of getting to them. So let me go ahead and do that, and then I'll go do my assignments. Or something. Campsite up there, but I actually already knew that. Piss. The hell is this? How far are they willing to follow me? I can't even go to the camp. Bruh. Bruh. I fucking soft locked myself. Oh god. They can petrify. Alright, and I can only use items to cure those out of combat. E represents a forest eye. If you step on their area of sight, foes will start chasing you. What? Three by 2 area. Will chase you if they see you. Alright, so try to avoid eye contact. Bull fucking shit. Looking further in the map, it doesn't seem like there's anything I can get there anyway. The hands are somewhere else. So I guess I'll just have to deal with the invisible maze. Oh my goodness, it's such a long stretch. It's such a big invisible maze. Oh my god, there's actually literally straight up no tell for a pitfall. You just have to run into it. What fun. This will just drop me to the foe, so no point dropping down to those. Ah, well here's the cutting place. Oh nice, it's actually super close. An alternative way of doing this would just be to just draw the walls and keep them entirely empty. Well, I've been drawing them this way, so I'm gonna stick to it. One, two, three, four, five, six. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh my god, it's such a big place. And also, I think I might have fucked up my mapping at some point. I know this section is right. The fuck? I've drawn everything right, but why does this feel so wrong? Jesus Christ. Oh, where do these take me? A hole in D6. D6. Okay, now these still just lead to more FOEs without much to get for it. Should be an inspectable here. Yep. Going the right way. Car. Here. Just a big empty room. So what's down here? the mining point I'm looking for is there. Oh, but that's not good. Handy. Alright, as long... Oh wow, already. As I don't go anywhere outside of the boundaries I've drawn right now, I should be fine. I'll just go for 2 and be safe. Of course, and that wasn't safe enough. Bullshit. Oh wow, already. That's super lucky. How does that even happen? Yep, that's fine. Woohoo! That's what I'm talking about. Alright, let's store everything we don't need anymore. Except for the Ariadne thread, of course. Alright, let's see how much we can get.
From, as well as several different subscription packages, like their lifetime subscription. So far, I've enjoyed improving my fluency in Spanish and French, but my partner is dead set on touring Italy in the future, and with Babbel, it's easy to get started on a new language that interests you.
Fare canottaggio.
Fare canottaggio.
Fare canottaggio. Sciare.
Sciare.
Summer is here, and it's time to set off on that next adventure. And with Babbel at your fingertips, you can ensure that anywhere you'll go, you'll fit right in with the locals. So step up your travel game right now with Babbel by clicking the link down below, where you can get up to 60% off of your subscription. Again, that's up to 60% off of your subscription to Babbel by clicking the link down below. Thank you, Babbel, for sponsoring this video. Now, without further ado,
And honestly, you really don't need to
the
risk
story
those.
of Albert Wesker
I think.
is intimately tied to the Umbrella Corporation, or more appropriately, its progenitor, the Spencer Foundation, and its founder, Oswell E. Spencer. The Spencer Foundation, a charitable organization on the surface, was born from the dream of one man, Lord Lord Oswell E. Spencer, a British aristocrat,
Why?
virologist, and eugenicist. Lord Spencer was disgusted with the state of the world and what he believed to be the deplorable future it was marching towards, and he longed for a utopia comprised only of individuals who represented the pinnacle of humankind, a species unburdened by the malaise that we had slowly fostered over the long march of history that could set a course towards the unimaginable. And so Lord Oswell Spencer dreamt and fantasized about creating a perfect world filled with highly intellectual superhumans that he would create by inducing suitable candidates with viral infections, a world that he planned to one day rule over as a god. And like many power-hungry and self-righteous men with grand and sinister dreams, his thoughts eventually manifested into the very real attempt to make his dreams a reality. In his efforts to do so, Oswell created the Spencer Foundation, an organization that both provided cover for his research and served as a funnel with which he could covertly fund it. With these structures in place, the various researchers employed by the Spencer Foundation began testing a virus they had developed from the flowering plant Sonnentrep, or Stairway of the Sun, a sacred plant they had obtained from the Indapaya people that induced similar effects as the future T-virus in both suitable and unsuitable subjects. Spencer and his cohort sought to produce the same effects within people that the Indapaya mist that surrounded the plant claimed occurred in their kings of old,
That's actually closer if you
superhuman
just go
properties that
here.
they developed from the Sonnentrep that gave them their mandate to rule their people. But for such an ambitious eugenicist project like creating specifically selected superhumans, one needs suitable candidates to fulfill that purpose. Enter Project W, or Project Wesker, which was named after the man only known as Dr. Wesker, who served as its head. The goal of Project W was to continue the Spencer Foundation's ongoing research and testing of the virus the T-virus originated from, the aptly named progenitor virus, by using test subjects they recruited especially for this purpose via the selective screening of candidates based on their parents' intellect and contributions to mankind. However, this plan went even further than simply providing adequate guinea pigs for a virus. The children of the Wesker Project were slated to be secretly raised by the Foundation in remote locations.
Looks like
They
it'll
were
be
given the
faster
best
to do the mining
educations
section
and access to
last.
everything they would need to foster their minds and bodies,
It's called
as
the
well as strict
slider
conditioning and
puzzles.
indoctrination into the values of the Spencer Foundation.
Looks like
So
they're
they might
only
one
in
day
this
fulfill their
room,
purpose
in
as
this
willing
floor.
agents of Lord Spencer. And
Although
this is
they
how
might show
Albert
up again
Wesker
on the next
became
floor.
Albert Wesker, a man who was essentially born
24.
alongside the Spencer Foundation as a vessel with which
Alongside
Oswell could
everything
further
else.
realize his dreams.
Something maybe.
Now, I don't mean he was
That would be
literally born
crazy.
into the Foundation's influence directly through nefarious means, such as selective breeding or genetic engineering. As hideous as that idea is, such an origin would have been a much kinder beginning for the child now known as Albert Wesker. Albert, like all the other children who would bear the name of the original Dr. Wesker, were abducted from their parents, or perhaps they were adopted. I'm more inclined to believe they were abducted, as establishing extensive backgrounds on orphans seems like quite the task, so it would be much more practical, if not more difficult, for the Foundation to take children whose parents' achievements that they could definitively verify. Now, I think it's reasonable to assume that these children would have been taken from their parents before they were able to develop concrete memories of them. So with that in mind, I believe we can deduce that Albert and the other children were likely taken when they were either infants or toddlers. And for Albert in particular, this notion is supported by several details that were given throughout the series. In the second Wesker's report, we learned that Albert was 18 when he arrived at the Arklay Research Center in 1978, putting his birth date sometime in 1960. Using the History of Resident Evil file in Resident Evil 5, which states that the fifth head of the Ashford family, Edward Ashford, began his research into what would later become known as the progenitor virus around 1960. We can assume that the Spencer Foundation was also founded sometime in 1960, or shortly thereafter, as the same file states that in 1962, Lord Spencer was already putting his plans in motion by enlisting the architect George Trevor to design and construct a reclusive mansion on the outskirts of Raccoon City, which would indicate that the Foundation was established between these dates. Moreover, Albert seems to have no memory of his parents, which lends further credibility to the idea that he was taken when he was too young to remember who his parents were. And so, with an act of cruelty, the babe who would later be known as Albert Wesker began his life as a ward of the Spencer Foundation, a boy who, like the many that were taken alongside him, would one day count himself amongst a master race of superhumans that would lead the world into a glorious future. But before the promised day of their evolution arrived, his insidious caretakers first needed to perfect the virus that would enable the Wesker children to ascend alongside their patron god, Lord Oswell E. Spencer. Prior to the establishment of Project W, initial testing of the progenitor virus proved to be rather precarious. These preliminary trials achieved middling results, as though precious few of these first candidates showed signs of superintelligence upon being infected. More often than not, these test subjects succumbed to the virus, and the high mortality rate among subjects served as quite the barrier to Lord Spencer's nefarious dream. So considering his planet-sized ambitions
Oh my.
and need for extensive and expensive research to be conducted on a bevy of
They
candidates
really
that would
don't want
take
him finding
years,
any
if
rare
not
material in
decades,
this
in order
lore.
to more effectively achieve his goals, Lord Spencer needed to go global. And
This
so
dungeon.
began Umbrella Corp in the year
Section.
1968, the vehicle
Stratum.
with which Lord Spencer
Whatever.
could achieve his dreams. So, for many years after his kidnapping, Albert received the best, albeit conditioned rearing, that money could buy, and though his eventual employment at Umbrella was planned from the start, the young and brilliant Albert Wesker believed that he desired to work for Umbrella, which he explains in Wesker's Report 1 and 2. When given the choice to be whoever he wanted to be, Albert chose Umbrella, and alongside his longtime friend and colleague William Birkin, he made great strides taking the progenitor virus to the next level with the T-virus, along the way conducting experiments on countless unfortunate souls alongside his colleagues, who endured years of torment in the name of their research. At this time in Wesker's life, he seems to have already been displaying some of the hallmarks of his personality, namely his eerily calm demeanor, callousness, selfishness, and sense of superiority. However, at this time in Wesker's life, there was something tugging at the corners of his mind that began pushing him towards his transformation into the monster he would become. Because as fulfilling as his research seemed to have been, Albert was ever curious about the mysterious head of his organization, Oswell E. Spencer, and by December of 1983, Albert's focus was centered more so on discovering Lord Spencer and Umbrella's secrets than it was on his research. At the same time, Albert became disillusioned with Oswell's plan, wondering why a man running a corporation wanted to create a virus that would annihilate nearly the entire population of Earth, and whether this was something he really wanted to be a part of. So around the time that William Birkin was advancing research on the T-virus into the G-virus stage, Wesker requested a transfer to the Data and Information section of Umbrella so he could continue to look into Lord Spencer's affairs. Unbeknownst to Albert, along with everything that occurred in his life so far, this was all a part of Oswell's plans, which we learned from a few more excerpts from Albert's file in 5. The Mansion Incident, the tragedy at Raccoon City, Rockford Island, Umbrella's Antarctic Research Facility, and the Umbrella Caucasus Research Facility in Russia. One man was involved either directly or indirectly with each and every one of these incidents, Albert Wesker. The motivation behind all of Wesker's actions can be found in this current incident in Africa. Wesker had already obtained samples of various organisms and viruses, including the T-virus, the G-virus, the T. Veronica virus, and Las Plagas. All of these were eagerly and enthusiastically received by Umbrella's former rival companies, who compensated him greatly for each. With wealth, power, and glory, Wesker appeared to have everything a person could ever want. Wesker, however, was not interested in material gains. An all too familiar sense of trepidation continued to gnaw at him, the source of this uneasiness being Umbrella's founder, Oswell E. Spencer. There was a failsafe device attached to every Wesker, Spencer's existence. This was the discomfort Albert had felt throughout his life. All Wesker children were programmed to seek Spencer out, which manifested itself as a growing anxiety within each of the subjects. So, above all, Albert's main goal throughout this series was to both learn all he could about Umbrella and its leader, and undermine the company by working with its competitors. Prior to his meeting with Lord Spencer before he murdered him, that is, his betrayal of both Stars and Umbrella at the mansion was the beginning. The Tyrant was to be used as a leverage chip with rival corporations, giving Albert the resources he'd need to dismantle Umbrella from the outside, now that he'd done all he could from within. When this failed, the progenitor virus he was injected with by Birkin both kept him alive and hungry for revenge against Stars. With his ambitions revealed and a new power bristling under his skin, Albert now seemingly worked with and for everyone. But each person and organization that came into contact with him were only ever being used to further Albert's goal of one day reaching the elusive Lord Spencer. Ada Wong, the Ashfords, Colonel Vladimir, Lord Sadler, and Los Illuminados. These individuals and their organizations were only ever allowed to work with or were targeted by Albert so he could acquire the G-virus, T. Veronica virus, the UMF-013 supercomputer, and Las Plagas respectively. So, Albert worked with what he knew best, the viruses that had been a part of much of his adult life. And through all of these endeavors, Albert has never showed himself to be anything more than an utterly vile individual. Snide, haughty, and brutal, Wesker shows himself to be highly skilled in everything he does, and his heightened natural intelligence ensures that he accomplishes nearly everything he sets his mind to. That isn't to say that Wesker is some unstoppable badass who's as stone cold and stalwart as death itself, as there are many times where we see Albert moving things from the shadows, rather than putting himself in the middle of the action. And even when he does, there are a number of occasions where he would rather run than fight, though those instances could be seen as tactical retreats, rather than acts of cowardice. No, Albert isn't a coward. In fact, most of the time Albert is cool, calculated, and eerily calm. The The menace with the clean-cut persona hidden behind sunglasses, whose very presence screams danger and malice. Unless you can keep cool and still be decisive no matter what the circumstances, then success will always evade you. This is a remark that Albert makes in the second Wesker's report that gives us a bit of insight into why he conducts himself the way he does. And indeed, it's this ability to keep cool that has ensured much of his success. But for a man in Albert's position, one needs to be ruthless. He has no remorse, empathy, or code of any kind. What benefits Albert is what he follows. And if billions have to die in order for him to get what he wants, billions will die. That's the attitude that has carried Albert Wesker through all of the horrid things he's done. And it turns out, such an attitude was a crucial aspect of his character that he'd need to embody in order to assume his rightful place as the instrument of Lord Spencer's plan. When Albert met Lord Spencer and finally discovered the truth of his origins and the manufactured state of his life, he was at a critical point that could have ended in multiple different ways. He could have decided to artificially extend the life of his dying benefactor. He could have turned away from his evil ways and lived a life of luxury somewhere far away from the rest of the world. Maybe he could have even turned his efforts towards stopping all the misery that he'd helped to create by playing with these various corporations and the bioweapons at his disposal. But no. Once Albert learned of Oswell's plans and his intentions to become a god, he decided that he should fulfill that plan. Only instead of Oswell Spencer ruling over all, it would be Albert Wesker. And so ensued the culmination of decades of work by the Spencer Foundation, Umbrella, and Albert Wesker himself. The use of all the viral plagues that altered living organisms' minds and bodies to create a virus that could change the planet forever, the Ouroboros virus. With this virus, Albert planned to enact Spencer's plan with a slight variation. There would be no set chosen few specifically selected by Albert, who would ascend to the heights of godhood once all their lessers had succumbed to the virus's effects. No, Albert planned to release this virus across the entire planet, with the intended result being the ascension of only those who possessed the same genes as the Indapaya kings of old. And without this vanguard group of anointed mutants, everything that would occur after this plague had spread to every corner of the earth would be left to natural selection. And from the ashes of a broken world would rise the true few who deserve to be led by their new god, Albert Wesker. 100 will give their lives, so one may live. An accurate summation given to us by Albert at the end of the Resident Evil 4 remake that portends what awaits the world once Ouroboros is unleashed. However, Wesker wouldn't live long enough to reap the fruits of his decades-long labor, because Wesker's ambitions proved to be his undoing, his beginning, consuming him. Much like his aptly named virus, intended to consume the world, Ouroboros, a name which is derived from the self-eating snake of Greek mythology, and in a final climactic battle with his nemesis Chris Redfield, in the center of a volcano, in the home of the Indapaya, the place that had cultivated the flower, which birthed the very virus that Albert sought to unleash, this man-turned-monster met his explosive end. However, the machinations of Albert Wesker were far-reaching, and who knows what the consequences of such a man's influence will be in the years following his demise, or if this was even the true end of Albert Wesker. As a man who cheated death once is certainly liable to do so again. But where things stand now, what is there to say about Albert Wesker? He was a child who was taken from his parents to be a guinea pig in a mad plot to remake the world. A boy whose entire existence encompassed what his masters wished it to be. Throughout the many years of his covert conditioning, Albert proved to be an exceptional individual, and even more so once he branched out on his own and began working for himself. In his efforts to quell the persistent unease he felt about his existence, Albert carved a path through the world to reach the man who stood at the center of it, and in the process, an unknown but staggering number of individuals perished as a result. The death and destruction left in the wake of Albert's quest for knowledge would only continue once he resolved himself to fulfill the purpose that was set out for him nearly from birth. And if Albert had gotten his way, the world as we know it would have perished as it entered into a new era of primal reckoning, an artificial survival of the fittest that would have ended 99% of our population and altered all organic life on Earth. But with all that we've discussed about Albert's history in mind, did Albert even have a choice in becoming a monster? Was he always destined to be an evil person whose entire life was planned out the moment he was stolen from his parents? Technically, no. Even with all the conditioning he'd undergone, Albert was still his own man, who could have theoretically taken his life in any direction he wanted to. But in actuality, Albert pretty much had no choice in the matter. Again, he did, but it would have been a miracle if he'd managed to go his own way, after everything that Oswell and his foundation had done to mold him into their idea of a perfect human being. So as much of a terror that Albert was, there is quite a lot of tragedy in his character, as no infant has to be torn from their parents, and a child who is raised within the parameters set by the diabolical men who had taken him to fulfill their own goals cannot be totally blamed for what they became once they've matured. Yes, Albert still had to choose to be who he was, and make no mistake, his choices are abhorrent, but his life was one that was molded by darkness, and if Albert hadn't been taken, he would have been a much different person. And well, as anyone could have predicted, if pure evil is where your foundations lie, it's no surprise that when you come out the other side, you reflect everything that they wanted you to be. Thank you all for tuning into this episode of Analyzing Evil, and I hope you've enjoyed. What are your thoughts on Albert? Did I miss anything? Let me know down below, and leave a suggestion for a villain you'd like to see featured while you're at it. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. A big thank you to all of my subscribers, to my patrons, and to anyone who's decided to honor me with a super thank, and a most vile thank you to those whose names you're seeing on screen now. Join the channel's Discord server and subreddit to interact with myself and the community, and follow me on the social media platforms listed below to keep up with the channel. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll be seeing you soon.
And let's try this out, this color scheme. Why not? Go for this one. Oh, I can still retire them again? No thanks. Aww. 104 this time. Oh no. So does retiring one more time... Does all retiring one more time simply do is increase the amount of skill points you get? I'm not sure if the stats increased. While a reset in skills would be nice, it is wholly unnecessary at this point because I really don't need... I could just rest instead and that'd still be good if I really wanted to. And while I do have some choices I don't like, retiring everyone just to achieve that doesn't seem worth it to me. Well, it's a good thing I saved before doing this. Right, I'll end it there then. Screw retiring. A third time. And, but yeah, I am still done though.